Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingmen Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who always watches my 6 o'clock is my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Hello, Commander Drew. It's good to see you today. You're Commander Drew, but you got all those stars in your cap, so I think you're actually Admiral Drew today.
4-star Admiral Drew. 4-star Admiral. It's a big difference. Well, let's start this puppy off with a quote of the day, which we love to do. And here it goes. If there's one living thing I've learned in life, it's the power of using your voice. If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's the power of using your voice. And that is by Michelle Obama, Dr. Paul. What do you think?
Well, I guess that shows that, you need to be heard. If you need to be heard, you need to say something. Some people say closed mouths don't get fed. That's kind of popular.
Yeah, and actually the new saying is see something, say something.
That's right.
All right. Welcome to the Wingman Show, where two black Navy jet pilots try to help you fly a little higher in life. I'm Commander Drew Brown again, and born in Harlem, raised between Harlem and Brooklyn. I'm a graduate of Southern University of New Orleans. I'm a former nightclub owner, championship boxing publisher, FedEx Boeing 777 pilot, and now your wingman. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, and I'm Dr. Paul Thompson, born in Harlem, raised in Queens, proud engineering graduate of the University of Pittsburgh, former civilian pilot for a bit, Navy jet pilot for a much longer time, and FedEx 777 pilot for a longer time. And your other wingman for today. We're the wingmen. And today we're talking about something powerful, rewriting your story from where you started to where you're going next.
You know, Paul, when people see us now, Navy jets, FedEx, the Wingman Show, they think it was some perfectly planned flight plan. But at 26 years old, I was a college grad with 2 children doing championship fights in Las Vegas. Then I owned a nightclub in New Orleans. I became a safety engineer on an offshore oil rig, and I was just spinning my wheels. And I finally asked myself, what am I going to be when I grow up? How about that, Paul?
Yeah. Well, and that's what folks at home need to hear, that moment of honesty. You didn't just sit in the dark. You did something wild and methodical all at the same time. You really went, I guess, from A to Z, literally, for every occupation, because you named a bunch, every occupation you could think of, counting, book writing, building, all the way down the alphabet until one word grabbed you by the collar. And we know what that is.
That word pilot, boy, that one word changed everything. I had no flying background. I didn't even know how to spell aerodynamics. I had no money for flight school, just a decision and a college degree. So 3 months before the military, I knew nothing about aviation except that something in me said, that's your new story. So I walked into the Air Force recruiting office. They loved me, a qualified black candidate, but my class date, they told me, was 16 weeks away, Paul.
Really, 16 weeks. That's a long time when your dream is burning in your mind. And that's when your story took a turn, didn't it? They told you what? Go down to the Navy, and you told me, you said, I don't want to be on boats. I want to fly. And they hit you with a line that rewrote your life. And you told me they said the Navy has the best pilots in the world.
Yeah, and Dr. Paul, that one sentence moved me from Harlem and New Orleans to the deck of the Nimitz aircraft carrier. Next thing you know, I'm a carrier-based attack pilot, launching and trapping on a moving runway in the middle of the ocean. From there, FedEx 777 pilot, thousands of hours in the sky, a best-selling book called You Gotta Believe, 30 years of talking to high school and college kids about hope and possibilities in this world. And now, The Wingman Show, trying to be everybody's wingman around the pole, aren't we, Paul?
Yes. I want people to know it wasn't easy for me either. Doing engineering or studying engineering at the University of Pittsburgh was no joke. I was grinding in the books and flying a little bit on the side, getting a little civilian pilot time before I strapped on a Navy jet. Then it was the same thing that you lived, earning your wings, flying those Navy jets, and eventually moving on to the Boeing 777 at FedEx. And now stepping into this chapter with you on The Wingman Show. Along the way, I wrote two books, including my latest, which is Backside of the Clock. I wanted to put what I learned about discipline, mindset, and faith into other people's hands because the book is really a novel, but it covers a lot of things. It covers a lot of Navy stuff too, but not just airplane and logbooks. And I can't leave out my beautiful wife, Kim, my own personal wing woman, who's been right there through every chapter, Commander Drew.
Wow. And here's the beautiful part. The story just didn't stop with us. My two children played basketball at the University of Texas, then went on to their own big careers. My daughter Taryn is now lead attorney at Delta Utilities in New Orleans, and my son is a spine surgeon with his own practice in Tampa, Florida. Now, your daughter Camille played basketball at the Air Force Academy, and now she's winning again, working for a major corporation. And your son Cameron is deep into his career in electrical engineering, building his own future in a world that runs on code and curiosity. Two wingmen who rewrote their stories, two amazing wives, Kim and Katrina, at our sides, and four kids who took that baton and ran full court with it, Paul.
Yeah. Well, so that's the legacy. You're looking at two brothers from Harlem, raised in different boroughs of New York, who use education, hard work, and faith to change our trajectory. And now we're watching the next generation do the same thing, Commander Drew.
And now, after retiring from 30 plus years at FedEx and marrying my wonderful wife, Katrina, I started asking, okay, what's the next mission? I studied those long living blue zone people, people who live over 100 years old. Well, the things they did is they moved their bodies, they ate well, they kept a tight circle of loved ones. And the big one is they all had purpose. And Dr. Paul and people out there, this show, The Wingman Show, has become my purpose.
All right. So here's the gouge for our listeners out there. Your story is not locked in by your neighborhood, your past mistakes, or even your age. If a 26-year-old father of two, Commander or Emperor Drew, I'll call him today, he's running a nightclub and promoting fights, can flip his script to fly Navy jets, FedEx 777s, have a best-selling book, and a purpose-driven podcast, and if two kids from Harlem can raise four college athletes and professionals, you can rewrite your life too.
And here's your wingman homework tonight, everybody. Ask yourself the same question I did. What am I going to be when I grow up? And no matter how old you are, it doesn't matter. Grab a piece of paper now and write one new chapter, one new decision, one phone call, one class, one habit that moves you towards your life you really, really want. Make that move, shouldn't they, Dr. Paul?
You should, because you're really not trapped in your old story. You're probably just one brave decision away from a brand new mission. And your wingmen from Harlem and Queens, New York, are here to remind you, you got to believe, but then you got to move, Commander Drew.
You sure do. So keep your questions sharp, your wings level, and your story open. This is the Wingman Show, helping you rewrite your flight plan, one episode at a time. All right, everybody, we're going to do some good news now. The Wingman Show, that's what we do. We do good news. Good outweighs the bad, and it's time people start knowing about the good people in our world. So, how about this one? Girl Scouts create a scam awareness game for seniors. Hey, Doc, check this out. A 16-year-old Girl Scout out in Woodland Hills just became my new hero. Her grandparents almost got scammed by a fake family emergency call. And instead of just being mad, she turned it into a mission, Paul.
Wow, 16 years old. Most teenagers are just trying to scam their grandparents out of gas money. not protect them. What happened, Commander Drew?
Well, some guy called pretending to be their uncle. I've been in a car accident. I need money right now. And her grandmother almost wired it. It felt completely real. This shook the young lady so much, she built a game called Scout the Scam. And that game is to teach seniors how to spot fraud. How about that?
Oh, really? So it's a game for seniors. Well, I like that. So what's she teaching them?
Well, number one red flag is urgency. If somebody is pushing you to move fast, send money, give info, don't tell anyone. That's a classic scam. She walks away from them through real life phone calls, texts, even AI generated stuff, and makes them practice saying these important words. Hold on, let me verify. How about that, Paul?
Wow. Well, and seniors need that. AARP, the American Association for Retired Persons, just found tens of millions of Americans have already lost money or had their information misused. Scam artists are full-time professionals now, Commander Drew.
Exactly. And the pros at AARP say it plain. If somebody calls claiming they're from your bank and wants your account info or tells you to move your money, it's 100% a scam. Banks don't operate like that. Hang up and call the real number on the back of your credit card.
Wow. So a teenage Girl Scout is teaching seniors and honesty. The rest of us, the new rules of the game. Let me do that again. Let's try again. So a teenage Girl Scout is teaching seniors and honesty. All right, man, let me start again. So a teenage Girl Scout. So a teenage Girl Scout is teaching seniors and honestly, the rest of us, teaching us the new rules of the game. Slow down, question everything, and verify at the source.
So, what's our wingman takeaway today? Scammers have AI now, scripts and pressure tactics, but they can't beat a calm mind and a good game plan. So, if a 16-year-old can protect her grandparents, you can protect yourself and your parents too. Have that talk with your seniors in your life. A 2-minute conversation now might save their savings and a lot of heartache later. I got some more good news, Dr. P. What if I told you that there are 7 types of rest that can help you feel restored? Doc, I used to think rest meant crashing on the couch and drooling all over myself for about 8 hours. But now I find out that there are 7 kinds of rest. I've been under maintaining this airframe for decades, Paul.
Well, 7 kinds of rest? That's not rest. That's a 100-hour inspection. But it makes sense. People say I slept, I ate, but I still feel wiped out. Turns out you can be topped off on one tank, but bone dry on the other tanks.
That's right. That's physical rest, sleeping, stretching, walking instead of sprinting through life. Then they have mental rest, actually giving your brain a break from replaying every mistake since 1979.
And don't forget emotional rest. That's when you stop being everybody's therapist and finally tell the truth about how you feel, or at least give the journal the unedited version.
You know, then there's social rest. Did you ever hear about that? Not just hiding in the house, but choosing people who pour into you instead of draining your battery. Remember, we talked about assets. If your phone lights up and you feel tired before you answer, that's not a rest person, Paul.
Yeah. And now we've got sensory rest. Think about turning down the noise, the alerts, the breaking news every 30 seconds. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is drive in silence and let your nervous system stand down from DEFCON 1, Defense Condition 1.
And guess what, Paul? Then there's creative rest. You stop forcing ideas and just enjoy what's already been created music, art, sunsets, even a beautiful airplane. You let the world inspire you instead of you pushing all the dang time. Just push.
Yeah. And then there's the big one, spiritual rest, remembering you're part of something bigger than your little to do list. You have faith, you have service, you can volunteer, helping somebody who can't help you back. That's where a lot of the anxiety leaks out.
That's very true. That spiritual rest is everything. There's a big guy up in the sky or whoever you want that will look after you. So, what's our wingman lesson? Rest is not laziness, it's required maintenance. If you don't schedule it, your body and mind will schedule it for you, usually at a bad time, like on short final in a bad crosswind, huh, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah. So, to our listeners, your assignment this week is don't just sleep more and call it good. Pick one of your tank that's empty, mental, emotional, social, whatever, and top that off on purpose.
And that's because a well rested pilot makes better decisions, smoother landings, and a much nicer human being to sit next to at cruise altitude. And your crew at home and at work deserves that version of you.
Hey, Commander Drew, you have any more good news today?
I sure do. Dr. Paul, guess what? California's first graduating class of incarcerated women just earned bachelor's degrees. Doc, I love a good comeback story. But so, how about this one? California just had its first graduating class of female inmates. They earned their bachelor's degrees from Cal State LA while still inside those prison walls, Paul.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's not being soft on crime. That's strong on transformation. Now, you said real degrees, not certificates that disappear when they get out.
No, Dr. Paul, real Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies, a real degree. About 20 women at the California Institution for Women, they walked across that stage in caps and gowns, making history as the first women cohorts in this program. And then the numbers back it up. People who get education in prison are roughly half as likely to end up back inside compared to those who don't. That's a better landing rate than some of these airlines, Dr. P.
Uh, well, so you're telling me instead of just warehousing people, they're actually training minds? It's like taking a damaged airplane and not just parking it in the boneyard, but rebuilding the avionics, the engines, everything else, and putting it back in the air, Commander Drew.
Exactly. Did you know that more than 13% of California's incarcerated population is now in some kind of college course? Thousands of people trading time for tools, thinking skills, writing skills, a real shot at a different life when those gates open.
Yeah, and the governor even showed up at the ceremony, talking about higher education being the key to transformation and growth. For a politician, that's a lot of syllables, but he's right.
Well, one of the graduates, Jennifer Henderson, said it best. She chose to grow and develop her mind and spirit and to empower others to live beyond any label. That's wingman language right there, Dr. Paul, refusing to let your worst day become your final call sign.
Mhm. So the wingman takeaway this week is people are not their rap sheet. Give a human being real opportunity and real education. They can become an asset instead of a repeat statistic, Commander.
Well, if 20 women can earn degrees behind bars, what's our excuse out there with Starbucks, Wi Fi, and freedom? You're never too old, too late, or too labeled to go back to school on yourself, Dr. Paul. We always talk about that.
Yeah, agreed. And out there, if you know somebody that's locked up, remind them the runway is still out there. Education might be their ticket from prison to purpose. Commander Drew, do you have any more good news?
I even have some more, Doc. Doc, this wingman story hits two of my favorite verses. One of them is nurses, and the other one is anonymous. At Bryn Mawr Hospital in Pennsylvania, somebody quietly dropped $1 million just for the nurses to help pay down their student loan debt. No press conference, no named after me plaque, just here, take care of the people who take care of everybody else.
Oh, that's beautiful. Nurses are the ones doing the 3 a.m. miracles on no sleep. And usually the only tip they get is another patient.
Exactly. These are people juggling family, night shifts, and decades of debt. And an anonymous wingman steps in and says, I've got part of this load.
Lost
And on
again.
top of that, Out in California, remember, there was a different kind of lift happening. A group of incarcerated women just became the first people to really earn their real bachelor degrees in liberal studies through Cal State, literally studying their way out of the past.
Oh, so on one side, you got invisible donor lifting up caregivers. And on the other side, you've got women lifting themselves up with education, refusing to be defined by their worst day.
Well, what's the wingman lesson today? The world changes two ways. Somebody invests in you, and you decide to invest in yourself. Those nurses didn't ask for a million, and those women couldn't have said, forget school, but generosity and grit met in the middle.
Yeah. So our lesson today is be one of those two. Either the person who quietly makes someone else's load lighter, or the person who goes back to class on their own life.
And if you really want to fly like a wingman, do both of them. Be the blessing in somebody else's story and keep writing your own. Be somebody's wingman. All right, everybody, this is our jet jolt time. So listen to this one. Doc, today's jet jolt is about something that sounds like science fiction, but it's already flying. We're talking about vertical takeoff and landing jets, little air taxis that go up like a helicopter and cruise like an airplane, Dr. P.
Good. You mean like the Jetsons, those machines they had? I thought those were just in tech demonstrations and superhero movies.
They're real now. That's real hardware. Companies are actually now building small aircraft with multiple quiet rotors that lift straight up, transition to forward flight, and then they run on batteries instead of jet fuel. Short hops over traffic, like downtown to the airport. And I think those are the first targets that they're going after, Paul.
Okay. So instead of sitting an hour on the freeway to catch your flight, you could ride an electric Sky Uber and be there, what, 10, 15 minutes?
That's the idea, Dr. P. The cool part is the flight control computers. See, they're constantly balancing all those rotors, battery levels, winds, and weight, so the ride will feel smoother and stable, even for non pilots. A lot of these designs are built from the ground up for automation and eventually self flying capability. And we talked about that. You won't be flying these little bad boys, it's going to be automated, Dr. Paul.
Oh. So the future passenger might not be asking, where's the cockpit? They'll be asking, why is there a cockpit?
Exactly. And because they're electric and much quieter than helicopters, they can operate closer to where people actually live without sounding like a war zone. These mini airports on top of parking decks instead of just miles away runway. This is amazing, Paul. What's the
Hmm.
takeaway?
Well, I guess the Wingman takeaway is aviation isn't just getting bigger and faster, it's getting closer and quieter. So the next big leap might not be a new jumbo jet. It might be just a little electric ship that hops you over the mess on the ground.
And as always, there'll be a human somewhere in that loop making sure the tech behaves because no matter how smart the machine is, everybody still needs a wingman. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Wingman Show, for listening to The Wingman Show on Apple Podcasts, checking it out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We so much appreciate your letters and your support. Now, we have a website, and that website is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMENSHOW.com. And on that website, we have a newsletter, good newsletter this week, too. The 7 kinds of rest, required maintenance for your soul. And then our favorite one is that frequent flow line. And that's where you guys can write us and we'll try to answer your questions. We'll try to get to your letters. And don't forget, our Wingman Ace is an AI chatbot. He's from ChatGPT. And never forget, he's not human and he's not always correct. You need to check his information out, but he is sure a great tool. So, Dr. Paul, why don't you read our frequent flow line letter to me and Ace?
Hello, Ace. I'm going to read something to you and Commander Drew, but I want to get your opinion. This is our frequent flow line. Are you ready?
Absolutely, I'm ready. Go ahead and read it out. I'll give you my honest take once you're done.
Okay, here it is. It's called Thinking About the Military. I need a wingman's point of view. Dear Wingman, I'm a senior at a public high school in Brooklyn, New York. I'm 17. I run track and play ball, and I've been listening to The Wingmen Show for the last year. I want you to know that your show has been a big positive voice in my life. Where I'm from, you don't always see older men talk about responsibility, faith, love, and flying jets in the same breath. It means a lot to see men who look like me and talk like me doing something powerful and uplifting. Here's why I'm writing. I'm getting ready to graduate, and I've got one thing on my mind: the military. I respect the discipline, the brotherhood, the travel, and the idea of serving something bigger than myself. I hear you guys talk about Navy jets and carrier life, and it lights me up. To be honest, I can't wait to join up. I feel like it would give me structure and purpose. But I also know this is not a video game decision. Once you sign, it's real. So I wanted to ask my wingman before I jump, what do you honestly think about a young man like me going into the military today? If you were me, 17 years old from Brooklyn, athletic, decent grades, what other options would you look at besides going straight in? And if I do it, how should I think about which branch to choose? I know you guys love Navy and flying. I've got friends talking about the Army and the Marines. I've heard the Air Force or Space Force might be more technical. I'm not running from life here. I've got a good mom, coaches who believe in me. I'm running towards something. I just want to make sure I'm not romanticizing it, that I'm choosing a path that sets me up for the long haul, not just cool pictures in uniform. I respect you both as men who've lived it and as voices who tell the truth. Whatever you say, I'm going to listen hard. Thank you for being the kind of wingman a young dude from Brooklyn can look up to.
So here's how I see it. He's got a good head on his shoulders. The military could be a path, but he should weigh it like a lifelong commitment, not just a leap. I tell him to explore everything: college with ROTC, technical careers, or even service academies. If he chooses the military, he should pick based on the mission and lifestyle, not just the cool factor. In other words, structure is great, but its purpose needs to extend far beyond those uniforms.
What do you
Okay.
think about it, Dr. Paul?
Well, I think I kind of agree with Ace. When he said the ROTC part, that's actually what I was thinking as I was reading the thing out. I'd say, give that a shot. Go on in, go in as a commissioned officer. That helps. But also, you get your college education, which will help you beyond, just joining up with no purpose. And even if you don't go to college, make sure you get into something that will be a benefit to you later on, not just as a young person, because you're not going to be not going to be young forever. So take the time if college is an option, really try to do that. Look for an ROTC unit and join up from the different one of the services. That's my basic. I don't want to drone on, but that's what I'm thinking. How about you, Commander Drew?
Well, honestly, I was a 17-year-old from Brooklyn, but I had a little bit different than you. So I'm going to be honest with you. My daddy gave me two choices in life. One was college, the other was death. I picked college. I never had a choice at 17 whether to go to college or not to go to college. You see, at 17, and don't take this bad, but you're at the dumbest point in your life only because you think you know more than you really do. I'm smart because I realize I don't know shit, and I'm ready to listen and learn all the time. So, if you were my son at 17, you'd have no choice. You'd go to college. Now, like Dr. Paul and Ace said, there's ROTC, so you could get your military on right now. But I'm going to tell you, Dr. Paul and I are officers in the United States military, and I'd like you to be an officer too. Remember, people sweep floors and people tell people to sweep floors. Which one do you want to be?
This is a Wingman PSA. In the sky, your partner has your back. Now, let's get to it.
Climbing in now. Systems green.
The Wingmen PSA. under the 11 facts in life, under fact number 5. If you want to make a decision, gather good information, prioritize it, and then make healthy choices. Before you make a decision, gather good information, prioritize it, and then make healthy choices. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, grab the information. If you can get the original source, that's great. That's tough. But yeah, you've got to make choices, and it's based on the good information you get. And don't just listen to people that you know. Look for dissenting opinions. Look for the other side, so you don't just run into something one sided and get a nasty surprise later on.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the most important part there was good information because there's a lot of information out there, but some of it's not very good. If you get good information and then you show which one is the most important step for you to take now, make the healthy choice. Not always the great choice, but the healthy one. Hey, Ace, I'm ready for some gouge. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to give me the answer and what the gouge is for this. Because the truth is, we learned about the gouge in the Navy. And gouge is shit you need to know, but nobody tells you. Really important things. Here's the question I'm going to ask you, Ace. Ace, what's the real gouge on staying strong and sharp after 50 years of age? The few habits that matter way more than people realize, and the common healthy things everybody does that don't actually move the needle. What do you think, Ace?
Oh, I've got you, Wingman. The real gouge is this. After 50, the secret sauce is all about consistency and adaptability. A few habits that punch way above their weight. Strength training, not just cardio. Regular mobility work, flexibility is gold, and quality sleep. People skip sleep, and that's a rookie move. Now, the stuff everyone does, but it's not all that, endless supplements. If your basics are solid, eating whole foods, moving daily, no magic pill does the heavy lifting. So, bottom line, train smart, stay limber, rest like it's your job, and don't get distracted by shiny trends. That's the gouge.
That's excellent gouge there. And like you said, after 50, well, to make it to 100, that's why I talked about the blue zones. Those are different places in the world that they have more 100-year-olds than any other place. And the 4 things that they do, they move their body, they eat well, they have a small circle of good friends and family, and the most important thing they have is a purpose to wake up every day. All right, everybody, that's right. It's time for our Wingman story. And I'll tell you, we do our Wingman story here every week because we care about people who help others. And we think that that's the answer to world peace, being nice to other people. So, our Wingman story this week is 40 Wingmen in Tokyo. What a great little story we have for you today. Today's Wingman story doesn't have just one hero, it has about 40, and none of them knew each other's names.
40, that's a whole squadron or even a division, Commander Drew.
Yeah, picture this Tokyo, rush hour. A commuter train pulls into the station just like it does hundreds of times a day. The doors open, people start stepping on and off. But a woman in her 30s missteps, slips, and disappears into that narrow gap between the train and the platform. In a heartbeat, she's pinned by a 32-ton train car. Oh my goodness.
Wow, that's every subway rider's nightmare. Worst nightmare, Commander Drew.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Somebody hits the emergency button. The train locks. An announcement goes over the PA. A passenger is trapped. Please assist. And here's the part that gets me. People don't run away, they run toward the problem. The human wing.
Wow. Yeah, the newspaper photographer on the platform watches as men in suits, women in skirts, students, station workers, all kinds of people line up along the car, about 40 of them. On a signal, they lean in and push. 40 regular folks putting a shoulder into a 32-ton train, Commander Drew.
Yep. And because of the way that train is suspension is built, if they all push together, It will be just enough, inch by inch, the metal groans to actually save her. So the car leans away from the platform, and the rescuers slide down to reach the woman caught in the gap. They get a few precious inches, and the rescuers reach in, grab her arms, and pull her up onto the platform. She's shaken, but incredibly not seriously hurt. People cheer, some are crying, and then because this is Japan, about 8 minutes later, that train continues on its route.
Wow, that's 8 minutes to go from disaster to back on schedule. All because a bunch of strangers decided we're her wingman.
The photographer's image hits the news, a whole wall of ordinary people pushing a giant train as one. That picture goes viral. Folks online say things like, "My faith in humanity is restored." How about that, Paul?
No capes, no superpowers, just 40 humans and a stuck stranger.
So, our wingman lesson today is sometimes the person watching your six isn't your buddy or your family. It's a crowd of people who don't even know you, but refuse to let you be crushed by something bigger than you, Paul.
Mhm. And sometimes you are that stranger. You're the one called to put your shoulder against somebody else's problem just for a minute. Push with them, lend your strength, then fade back into the crowd.
And that's what being a wingman looks like at street level. See the crisis, run towards it, and push together until somebody trapped gets free. That woman probably doesn't know the names of the people who saved her. They may never see each other again. But for those 8 minutes, they were a perfect formation. 40 wingmen holding the line between her and disaster.
Mm.
Be
So,
somebody's wingman today.
so you may not push a train this week, but you'll definitely see someone in a tight spot. The question is, will you walk past or get in formation and help them move that weight?
All right, wingman, let's be the kind of people who lean in and push, even when it's not our problem. That's how strangers become a rescue team and how the world gets just a little less heavy. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching us. And anything out there that you think is important, and anything out there that you think is beautiful, and most importantly, anything that makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. It's good to see you again, and especially to our listeners and viewers. We appreciate you listening, liking, sharing our message. Send this out to somebody you know. Spread the word, spread something positive. It's really worth it. Most of you are not subscribers, so please consider subscribing. It helps the algorithm. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, giving us a like or positive review would be also appreciated. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it, just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.